Hey there. Welcome to Tea Talks with Tawan. Want to thank everybody who is joining us this evening. You know, I'm coming here to spill the tea. Yes, spill the tea on those topics, those personal development topics that help you with your being, your becoming, and how you create your best life. If you don't know me and this is your first time to the talk, I want to tell you to grab a seat, get your journal, a piece of paper and pen, because you're going to definitely take notes, so that you can have something to walk away with and you can implement immediately to start to continue your journey of becoming who you are. And again, if you don't know, I'm Tawan Lowe. I am the founder of TLC Consultancy, where we believe everybody needs a little TLC. And if you don't know what I'm talking about that transformational lifestyle content that helps you with becoming your best self and create your best life. As a certified life coach, one of my biggest goals is to help you not be stuck, get from behind yourself, get out in front and create the life that you dream and you desire. We all have dreams living inside of us that we need to get out so we can manifest. And I help you put that plan together to move beyond all the barriers and get to the place that you want to be. Welcome to our Tea Talk today. We have a fabulous show for you. I am excited topic today. We're going to be talking about positive psychology. And this is a new concept in psychology. And it's a concept that and good leaders are using, and they are using it to what I want to say, they are using it to bring the best out of their talent, out of their clients, and out of everybody. And today, who's going to be joining me on the screen is somebody that I can say is a friend, but someone, Dr. Kiki Ramsey, who is plays a very critical role when it comes to positive psychology. She has a business called PCADDY. I can't even try to tell you what all PCADDY means. No, but I can't give you all of that because it's kind of like women walking in their own shoes. Such a long name, but it has power behind it for what she's doing. So we're going to talk about positive psychology and why it's important, why it's to have it, and why you need to be implementing that concept into your life. Now, before I get started, I'll give you one more instruction. I need you to like and subscribe. You like the content that you give here, because we're going to be giving good content every Monday. So I need you to like and subscribe and hit the button so you can get notification when I come. I don't want to miss anything because I want to help you with your being, becoming, and creating your best life. Now that I've gotten all that out the way, guess who's coming to the stage with me? My girl, Dr. Kiki Ramsey. Hello, hello,
Woo-hoo.
hello. How
Hey,
are you today?
I'm great. I am so glad to be here with you today. Yes.
Positive psychology.
Yes.
This is a new phenomenon actually in the psychology world. It is and it isn't, because positive psychology, I believe, has been around for a while, but just have not been using it. But they're now starting to get the momentum and understanding how focusing on the positive is very important. But before we right in, I want you to tell us a little bit about you and about P. Caddy, y'all. Y'all, this P. Caddy, this name, Lord have mercy, P. Caddy.
Oh my goodness. Hey Gail, thanks for joining us. We're excited to see
Hey,
you.
Gail.
So PCADDY stands for the Positive Psychology Coaching and Diversity Institute. Say it
Positive.
fast.
Say that again.
The Positive
Go
Psychology
pause.
Coaching
Mhm.
and Diversity Institute,
I like
aka
that name.
PCADDY. So there's two P's at the beginning, but we don't say PPCADDY because that sounds crazy. Okay. Um, so we just say PCADDY. And what we are a leadership and diversity coaching company. Our mission is to help people from all walks of life find greater purpose, courage, and belonging in their organizations. And our vision is to see the face of leaders, to change the face of leadership in America. Because as you and I both know, that leadership tends not to look like us, whether it be African American, whether it be woman. It tends to lead more to white male
Mhm.
domination in most organizations. And I think that in order to have really inclusive organizations, you are going to have to change the face of leadership, and your leadership is going to have to be representative of everybody in your organization. And so that's our vision and our mission for our company. And we love coaching. We love to do that work via coaching because we think that is super, super important. So I'm Dr. Kiki Ramsey, and I'm the founder of PCADDY, and I am an executive coach, and I'm a keynote speaker, and I'm a positive psychology, which is what we're going to be talking to positive psychologist, which is what we're going to be talking about here tonight. All things positive psychology.
So let me ask you first. I'm gonna go because we are in Black History Month.
Whoop,
So you
whoop.
said something that was, I think, is key, and I'm starting to see a little bit change in the workplace. But you made mention of how when you look at leaderships, they don't look like us.
No.
They are the traditional white males who have dominated the leadership arena for so many years.
Mhm.
And diversity and inclusion is becoming so critical now for every company
Yeah.
in every industry. It's not just for certain places, but it is becoming crucial. And can you just talk a little bit about, and I'm going to talk about positive psychology, but I think it all connects.
Yeah, it does.
Um, you can't have positive psychology and then leave people out
Yeah,
at
absolutely.
all, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And positivity comes in all shades, sizes, genders, and things of that nature. So you can't be exclusive when it comes. So I just want you to take a few minutes and talk about the importance of diversity and inclusion, because I was having a conversation with someone and they didn't even know the difference. They didn't
Oh,
know
wow.
what the difference. And I think if you ever introduced to, you now have to deal with it.
Yeah,
Sometimes people work in a bubble. So
they
sometimes they
do.
don't really know. So let's educate our audience to understand so they know how to fit in, how to play the role, and how to be better when it comes to this.
Absolutely. You're so right to one. You can't have real positive psychology without even including everybody. But a lot of people may not know the definition of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I don't judge, right? I mean, because some of us, just haven't been exposed to it in a way that we can understand it, or a way that's not
Mhm.
shameful. And that's what I pride ourselves in our company, is that we come to this topic from a place of humbleness, understanding that, we didn't get here by ourselves, and we also need everybody to get away from this place, right? So we can't isolate
Mhm.
somebody and ostracize people for what they don't know, but our goal is to educate. So diversity is basically the differences between you and I, right? So in the world, so you can have people of diverse backgrounds. It can be your religion, it can be your race, it can be your gender. All of that equals diversity. So when we're talking about diversity in organizations, we're talking about having differences in organizations like race and religion, nationality, your sex, whether you want to be considered man, woman, non-binary, all of that. That's what we talk about when we're talking about diversity. So you can have diversity in an organization without having inclusion. And so when we're talking about inclusion, we're talking about the sense of being wanted and needed, and also having a seat at that table. We all have talked about the seat at the table, women having a seat at the table, right? Meaning you have a voice in the organization, and you have that seat at the table. Like, you feel that belonging, you feel like this is the place that you belong. You don't wake up every day and go to work and have microaggressions against you. And microaggressions is it really means these subtle acts of prejudice or racism. It's kind of like, uh, when people say something, but you know what they mean, but they're not really saying what they say, right?
Mhm.
So that's kind of what microaggressions is. And so that's what inclusion is. It's really that sense of being, being included, having
Mhm.
belonging in your organization. And then when we talk about equity, we talk about people showing up and getting the resources that they need. I may be a Black leader in an organization, you may be a white leader in an organization, chances are we're not going to need the same supports, right? And so you being able to give me what I need to do my job is equity, right? If you give us all the same thing, that's equality. That's equality,
Yes.
right? We might not all need the same thing. I might need something different. And that term is equity. And a lot of people don't necessarily understand the three. But when you do have the three, I truly believe you have you can create a culture of psychological safety, which means people can show up and be themselves at work with their hair, right? This is Black History Month. I'm doing a keynote coming up talking about the Crown Act. And the Crown Act is an act that that you can sign that says it's illegal to discriminate on a Black person's hair based on their hair. This is the natural stuff that comes out of my head. I can't help it, right? And so when you have diversity, equity, and inclusion in an organization, you create psychological safety, you create a total belongingness, and you create happiness in your employees. And so I think that it's hard to get an equitable place of work, diverse place of work, if you're not willing to really open up, peel back the layers and really take a deep dive into some of the foundational layers of companies, which I think there's a lot of amazing work being done out there in the world. And positive psychology is one of those tools that I think is very useful in the DE&I space, because we really talk about resilience, and we talk about, having people come and get that psychological safety and even happiness.
Yeah. I think it's key. Having over 30 years in the government, just sharing a little bit about me, yes. I have experienced sexism, racism, okay. a whole lot of things. And it has been times, because of the grade level and everything that I show up and I am the only one in the room. And when I say the only one, the only woman, and then African-American woman. And unfortunately, I've had the experience where I've had to say things for people to understand and recognize, bring something to this table as well. It's hard fighting Caucasian men who are caught up in this culture, and that's all they know, and now trying to learn something different or pretending that they want to learn something different. So it is very hard. So the work that you do, I think, is excellent and is definitely needed. All industries, every company needs to really be focusing, and your companies now talking about in diversity and inclusion. So I think it is important, but I think it's also important that I mean all of us as people, that look at us and look at our own biases and prejudice and see we play a part in it, because yes, we can't fight everybody. There are some times when you need to speak up and just say, this is unacceptable. And I had to do that in a meeting before, and it becomes empowering. It really does. And at the end, when I did this, and literally when I say the only in the room, I had to really have them understand that this is about respect.
Yeah.
Respecting who I am, respecting what I bring to the table, respecting my leadership who chose me to come to this meeting and to represent them and to give you the information that you need in the project that we're working on. And when I broke it down like that, they were looking at me dead with their head in the because like they didn't understand, like, we respect you. Can't, when you overtalk me, when you don't listen to me and you disregard me. That is not and you do that because I'm a woman and I'm an African-American woman. So I pointed it all out. And of course, they didn't like me. But I really did not care, because it made me feel better about me showing up at the table. Because it can work on you to the point where you're going to need to use that you talked about, and positive psychology. Here we go. How we going to loop that around? A positive psychology will play a role in helping you not lose who you are, because in that space you can lose your identity. It's another way to strip you of who you really are. So let's talk about positive psychology.
Yeah.
Um, if you wasn't on when we first started, I just talked about it's a new phenomenon. I like it because it's looking at the positive in your being and who you are, and focusing in on those positive pieces
Mhm.
to get you to the place that you want to be, that you're becoming, and your self and best life that you want. And it's interesting. I think I heard you say this not too long ago, maybe about a week or two ago, how we were taught to focus on the negative,
Always.
and how you
Always.
work on your weaknesses and things
Yep.
like that. Body tells you to focus on the positive. So tell us a little bit about that
Yeah,
concept.
absolutely. So positive psychology is basically the study of what goes right with you, the study of the good life, right? And so when you think about psychology,
Mhm.
psychology in itself, just plain psychology, is a deficit model. Is so when we think about psychology, the word psychology, we think about depression, anxiety, all kind of
Mhm.
mental health issues, but they're all bad, right? They all lean to the negative, right? And so
Right.
if psychology is what it is, the opposite of psychology is positive psychology, which is the study of what goes right with us, right? And so I just love that the founder of positive psychology is Martin Seligman. He's
Mhm.
actually a professor at University of Pennsylvania, and he he came up with this and this. And to be honest with you, positive psychology has been around for about 20 plus years, right?
Mhm.
But people still don't know the word. But they know concepts of positive psychology, and I can
Mhm.
bet you everybody knows concepts like you've heard of the word resilience. We
Mhm.
all heard of the word resilience, like our ability to just jump up and get back to where we
Mhm.
started after being knocked down, and the ability to do that really quickly. We've heard of happiness. I talk about happiness all the time. I mean, one of my main keynotes is about the pursuit of happiness. So there is
Mhm.
a science behind happiness. Research says that about 50% of our genes we were born with, right? Like 50%. So, that's saying Beyonce, I woke up like this. Yes, some people woke up like that on the wrong side of the bed, right? And so, so, and then 40% is our day-to-day activities, and 10% is our life circumstances. So the
Mhm.
good news there is that we can actually affect 50% of our own happiness, which is why I always say happiness is a choice, right? So you've
Mhm.
heard of happiness, you've heard of resilience, you've heard of grit. Grit is a kind
Mhm.
of another word for courage, like your
Right.
ability to be courageous. And so we've all heard these words, but we just might have not known that they date back to, and they really correlate with positive psychology. And so I love that so much. And so what positive psychology doesn't say is that we only focus on strengths. A lot of people are like, you focus on strength, positive psychology, just this focus in positive, positive, positive. It's not that, but we have been trained all our life to fix what's broken,
Mm.
right? Like
Yes.
we literally all our life we've been trained to fix what's broken. All positive psychology is saying is, why don't we just roll with and continue to grow what's right already? Because it's already good, right? And not
Mhm.
that we don't work on our weaknesses, is because we do, but why not focus on your
Mhm.
strengths, right? And so I love that. And one of the assessments that I love the most is the VIA character strengths. And because I
Mhm.
think character, right? We all can understand our strengths from a skills level, right? We might be great
Mm.
communicators, great writers, great
Mhm.
leaders, all these things. But when it comes to character, this is where I think it really intersects with DE&I, diversity, equity, inclusion, because when we talk about character, I truly feel like we can all get to a certain level based on skill, but it's your character that's going to keep you there, right?
Baby,
Like
and
you,
that was a mouthful. That
Mhm.
that that was a mouthful, and it's your character that keeps you from, that causes you not to embrace diversity and inclusion. It's not your skill set; it really is your character, and
Mhm.
people don't want to believe that because they say I wasn't taught that. You don't have to be taught to be good to people.
Yeah.
It's that's something that should be ingrained in you, and I think that's why people don't understand it. So I think that's powerful what you
Mhm.
said. And if you could text me that name, I love to put that uh,
Oh,
that
the
tool,
VIA.
that assessment tool on here, text it to me and I'll put it in the
Yeah.
comments. Because I
Okay.
think, is it a free tool people can take?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a free tool. It's an assessment. And so it's
Mhm.
24. All of us have 24 character strengths. And so they're all strengths. So even
Mhm.
if it's at the bottom, it's still a strength. It's just not as strong as the one at the top. So like for me, my top character strength is zest. Baby, I'm just zesty. I wake up. Like, you know what I'm saying?
No, that's okay. Not that. Oh, and if I mean, and y'all, I'm saying this because I know her. So that, I mean, I hate to say it, it's on point. It really is on point. So,
Right.
woo, okay.
I wake up like, and so, but here's the thing, knowing that, I really set my intention every single day to really lead with that strength. But it comes natural to me. But then of course there's times when I get down and out, right?
Mhm.
And then I have to remember, all right, girl, what you strong at? This is your strength. I know you can think about this problem from
Mhm.
this strength, and that's how you use it, right? Because it's already there for you to tap into.
Mhm.
Like one of my lower strengths is humbleness. I think it's hilarious, right? I wouldn't say that I'm not humble, because I do think I am. And I know we've talked about, even with Gail, talked about putting more stuff out there when we get like all these testimonials and stuff like
Mhm.
that, right? So it's not to say that I'm not humble, but it might not be the first one, because I can talk about myself very, very well. Like, I mean, I can celebrate me, I can talk about myself. And so it doesn't mean that humbleness is not a strength for me. It's just lower than some of
Right.
the some of the other ones. And so the VIA has 24 character strengths, and they'll give you your top 5. Well, they'll give you all 24 ranked in order, but what we normally focus on a lot of is your top 5, and those are like your power 5. Those are ones that can easily tap into any day to really help you get through some of the challenges that you might face. And so I think it's via character on .org, but I will text it to you, and I will make sure that you all the viewers can have it.
So let me ask you this question. I love positive psychology. Because I love psychology. First of all, I just love psychology. Anything that helps you understand what makes a person tick and what makes them do what they do and their
Yes.
being. And I think putting the positive on psychology is, I like you said, we always work on what doesn't work, but working on what does work for us. And I think why it has taken positive psychology such a long time to get where it is now, where people are more aware of it, understand it, is because one thing, first of all, we could put therapists out of business and psychologists out of business if we really focus on the positive, because people go to therapy for the negative
Mhm.
to change their abilities. But I like when it comes to coaching, how you can use that to help propel the person to the next level
Yes.
and help them grow personally, professionally, because we all know that we have something that we're not good at.
Oh,
Like
yes.
me and technology. Okay, y'all probably gonna see that in a few minutes. But me and technology are not
Mm.
good. However, I am good at some other things, and I think why it's important for people to learn what their strengths are, what they're good at, those character traits, is because when you find yourself at crossroads and you do need the resilience, the grit, like you
Mhm.
said, it's in you. So I know for me, sometimes when I have certain situations, what helps me to continue to move forward is remembering that I have moved forward before,
Oh,
how I
yes.
how I have moved forward before, and what was in me that allowed me to. So I start thinking about the situation and what I did, and then you that really brings you back to I
Mhm.
am a resilient person. I do know how to bounce back. I even know how to handle defeat, because
Mhm.
sometimes you do have to know how to handle that,
You
because
do.
it's a part of life. Actually, that is
Yes.
part of your success.
Yes.
If you're never defeated, you haven't even achieved any success. That's all I got to tell you. It's another show. We can talk about that later. Failure
Woo,
and
child.
setbacks. and all that is a part of the journey. But I look at all things that is within me and the things that I take up out of me, because it's really sometimes if you stop and think about it, it's really not people always getting you out. It's you. And so me and you have a lot in common. And the one thing we have in common is I believe everything is a choice.
Yes.
Everything is a choice. Like when I tell people to just get over it, I know it sounds harsh, but to get over it is make the choice of where you want to be. Do you want to be happy or unhappy? Do you want to be loved or unloved? Because when you make the choice, your behaviors
absolutely
will dictate you being in that whole situation. So in positive psychology, I think that's how it connects. And how I connected it in my life. So as a coach, can you give us, I want to think about that. What I want you to give us, what would you tell a client that came to you who's been stuck in a job for 10 years and don't see a way out to anything else? How would you use positive psychology to help coach them and get them to that next place?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, coaching, which I love so much, is a series of questions. And it's a relationship between two people. And so one of the things that I would I would really seek to understand from this person is what's been going on, just a high level overview, right?
Right.
Don't have to go into like every little detail. Somebody did this, somebody did that. That's not necessary, but a high level detail overview. And then I would ask them, what do they want? What do they want to do? Right? Because the thing is, a lot of times we can be stuck in a situation, but we haven't figured out what we actually want to do about the situation, which, there comes the choice, right? There comes that choice, right? So if they do want to get out of the situation, they want another job, they want a more fulfilling career, then I ask them what story they've been telling themselves about what it means to move, right? Because here's what we do is we have this story that we keep looping in our head about our situation and the reason why we have not actually moved to the next, to the next thing or tried to move. We might have said, well, I tried it, but it didn't work. Okay. Are there other ways? I did this, but that didn't work. Okay. Well, what story? Because chances are we're telling ourselves some kind of story that I can't move to this next job because I got kids that are in school and they young and they need me and blah, 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 blah. I can't move to this next job because I don't have the education, that I think people are looking for. I can't move to this next job because I feel like I'm too old in the game and I should be trying to think about retirement versus trying to move to another career. Like we have all kind of stories in our head. And what we have to do is we have to break the cycle of the story. Right? We have to choose to write a new story.
Right.
We have to choose to figure out a new story. And once we figure out a new story for ourselves, then I can say, okay, now we can talk about strategy. Most people want to talk about strategy first. All right, let's get your resume together. Let's look for jobs. No, that's the wrong place to start. Right? You got to get yourself together. You got to think about your strengths. Number one, that's your state. And then you got to think about your story. And then you got to think about strategy. And that comes last. And so once we've gotten our story together, we really did some work on that, really talked about purpose, right? What is your purpose in life? Where are you trying to go? What do you feel like you was placed on earth to do? Then we can start thinking about strategies and really figuring out what fits you in terms of where you want to go. And we explore those options. And then it's easy from there. It's easy from there, right? But you got to break this stuff first before you can even get to strategy.
That is true. One of the shows we'll be doing next month is going to be talking about mindset. And that is almost 95% of everything. It's what's in your mind and that story that you tell yourself. And if people don't want to take the opportunity to really take a deep look at their current state And when I say
Yeah.
look at the current state, where am I at now and how did I get here?
Yep.
You have to examine how did you get here and how did you get to 10 years? You
Yep.
know, what story did you tell yourself all the time? And one of the things I always ask my client, is it true? Because some things they say to me, I was like, is it really true? Now let's
Mhm.
examine the evidence to see does it support the theory that you have in your head. Because
Yeah.
sometimes some of these stories, you don't even have information or the
Mhm.
evidence to support it, or the evidence that you have taken it to justify what you believe negatively about yourself. So it's very interesting how a story
Mhm.
who can
Yeah.
keep us stuck and miss all of the positive.
Yes. Yes.
Truly
Absolutely.
miss all of the positives. So if you're on and you listening, two coaches are telling you that you have to pay attention to the positive. You
Yeah.
really do because it plays a major role. And a lot of times I think people don't believe there is any positivity because if they've been stuck for so long,
Oh my gosh.
or if things are not working for
Yeah.
you. However, the flip side is what things have you done right? What things, because even if you're here, what got you here?
Absolutely. If you're here, if you're listening, then something sparked your interest. Kimberly said, "You know that I'm going to take this," and
Yes, I
absolutely,
saw that.
right? Like
Mhm.
absolutely, because I mean, I think that I talk about gratitude a lot, right?
Yeah.
You're here, right? And
Mhm.
that can account for a lot because some people are not here, right? Even if you woke up this morning, right? That accounts for a lot. And so that means you have the opportunity. Like even if you're in a very, very bad place in your life, the fact that you wake up the next morning means you have the opportunity to make it different for you. You have the opportunity to choose a direction that is going to absolutely change your life and blow your mind. But you have to start thinking about where you want that direction to go. But you also have to start with, okay, I know for a very long time I've been telling myself this story about money. And so I'll give you a prime example. So back in back a couple years, some years back, I've always had a money story, a money situation. I grew up with a mom addicted to drugs, all of that. So of course we were in poverty. We didn't have a lot of money. So I grew up with that adage, money don't grow on trees, but it really do because it's paper. But
Because it's
anyway,
like, mhm.
you know what I'm saying? But it's money is scarce. And so money was scarce. And so I used to be a saver when I was younger. And then my mom would come and borrow the money from me, and I stopped being a saver because I didn't want her to borrow the money. So I started spending the money. Little did I know that became a habit in my adulthood where I would just spend whatever I got. And so much so that I couldn't look at my bank account and see money sitting in there because I'm like, we got to spend this because there's somebody gonna come take it, right? Some bills, something gonna come take the money. And so I never had money because I always spent it and I got into debt and everything. And until it came to a head, I got married and everything like this. My husband had to put a stop. He was like, "You out of control." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, you every time you go to the grocery store, you go over budget, and so you can't go to the grocery store no more. And I'm like, "What you mean I can't go to the grocery store? I cook for this family. I'm going to the grocery store." So he stopped me from going to the grocery store. He started going to the grocery store, so I refused to cook, right? And so it's just been it's been a hard
Don't
road.
y'all do that. Don't y'all do
Don't do
that.
this. No, I'm not telling y'all to do this. It's wrong, right? But I started thinking about my actions, and there was many more after that. But I came to a head when I had, bought these programs for my business, and we were still struggling in other areas financially, but I'm over here spending this money on this when I should be spending money on that. And I was like, this has got to stop. My relationship with money has absolutely yes, a hot mess, Gail. I know. My relationship with money has got to, this negative relationship with money has got to stop. And so what I did was I told myself, what story am I telling myself around money? I was telling myself that money is scarce. And
Mhm.
as soon as I get it, I need to spend it. So I changed my story to money is not scarce. As a matter of fact, money flows to me easily, right?
Yes.
I am a
Mhm.
millionaire. I have
Mhm.
money in the bank. I can
Mhm.
I can buy what I need and what I want. So I started changing my story around money, and guess what? Money started coming to me.
Coming to
I
me.
started
Mhm.
saving more and more money. And I have a new story around money now than I used to, but I didn't have this story until I really examined the old story that I had been telling myself and chose to create a new story, which comes with responsibility, right? Like you're not just gonna create a new story like boom, everything gonna be okay. You actually have to then work at it because you're now headed to a destination
Mhm.
that you are aware of. And it's a new destination. It's not financial ruin, it's financial freedom. And so there's responsibility in that. But with that, came a whole new world that opened up to me in terms of business and all of that because I literally changed my story. And that goes back, and I started focusing on what's positive in me because I used to be a saver. So I
Mhm.
knew that I could do that again, right? I went back to my strength of saving in the past and I knew that I could do it again. So that's what I'm talking about when we say focus on the positive versus the negative. Like I know me. You know you. You
Yeah.
absolutely know you better than
Yes.
anybody else. And if you don't, take
We
some
got
time.
another. That's another problem. That is another problem.
Yeah.
Go to a commercial, but before we go to the commercial, I want to say something that you talked about when you said gratitude. Last week when we were talking things to motivate you and keep you motivated on your goals, and gratitude was one of them. But when I pray, when I get up in the morning, I thank God for giving me opportunity to do this again and to do it better and to learn the lessons from yesterday today, so today won't be like yesterday. And
Mm-hmm.
so important to me, and that is a standard in my prayer every morning because that's my gratitude of thanking you for letting me be here. This is one more day for me to make a difference in somebody's life. It's one more day for me to empower somebody. It's one more day for me to connect with my father, and one day for me to be a better person and focus on those things that are positive in me. So I
Mm-hmm.
think gratitude is very important. You
Yeah.
know, people think about gratitude, getting and having, but it's what you have that you should be grateful for.
Yeah.
And we take a lot of things for granted. So I think that's a key point that you made here. So we're going to go to a video. We're going to go to commercial. My sponsor for talks is Tea Lovers Cafe. So we're going to go ahead and go to commercial, and then we'll be right back with Dr. Kiki Ramsey. Yes.
Woo-hoo.
Okay, and that was a very short commercial. And I told y'all was going to see where I'm not quite where I need to with technology. Got it together real
You're
quick. We
doing
got this
good.
stuff
You're doing
real
good,
quick.
honey.
Last week, Kiki, I made a joke about this would happen. You let me do this by myself. See, you got some people here with me doing some of these things, clicking these buttons. But hey, Joe must go. You got to do what you have to do.
There you
So
go.
this month is Heart Health Month.
Mm.
Women and heart health. It's love month at that. Valentine's Day. So what I want to talk about when it comes to positive psychology, because if you've been paying attention to all you said thus far, positive psychology truly plays a key role in who you become. When you
Mhm.
decide to focus on those things that are positive, grow and learn from them, and just because you're positive, you have strengths in certain places, doesn't mean that you don't work on them anymore because you still work on them to make them even better strengths or
Mhm.
strengths. So you still have to work on those things. Positive psychology help navigate us out of conflict, help us deal with interpersonal issues. It plays a key role in every aspect of our lives. And I want to talk about how it plays in your heart health, because focusing on negativity wears on you physically, it drains you. And I am truly a believer that one of the reasons why some women are sick is because of some of the negativity that they hold in their heart and in their spirit, and manifests in their body and comes out as pain. And it's not just emotional and mental pain, but it's also physical pain. And we have to learn to get to a place where we release part of, to me now, that this is me now, the expert will either correct me or say I'm correct. But I think a part of positive psychology is all learning how to release, be comfortable in releasing, so you don't have these blockage. Fear is a blockage. Think about it as a clot somewhere, and it can be a clot in your head, in your heart, but think of it as a clot blocking the air, oxygen, and the blood from flowing to the places that will have you be healthy and whole. So I want to talk about the things that women hold, or people, not just women, that we hold and harbor, especially in our hearts, that affect us negatively, and how can we use positive psychology to shift to a better place. And if you need an example, somebody watching might say they need an example, but let's just think about a woman who's been hurt.
For sure.
Gail says she wants tea. You can go to www.Tea Lovers Cafe and get you all the tea that you want. Bell.
I love me some Tea Lovers Cafe.
And I'm going to have some when we get off. I'm going to have some when we get
off. I have some ginger and something here, but I'm gonna get me some too, because I'm like, I ain't ready to go to bed just yet. So, but one of those things, I talk about with positive psychology is happiness, and one of the strategies to happiness is learning to forgive. And forgiveness is one of those things that we hold, in our body. Unforgiveness is one of those things that we hold in our body, and it gives us a real visceral reaction, right? Like a real visceral, we hold it in our body, and when we are unwilling to forgive, it weighs us down. It weighs on our emotions very, very heavily. And so I talk a lot about this in some of my keynotes and in my book as well. Get Courageous Now, A Woman's Guide to Finding Her Passions and Purpose in Life, which people can get that on Amazon. But when we are unwilling to forgive, we harbor these things in our body, and it really hinders us from moving forward, especially when it comes to relationships, right? And that can be a relationship with yourself or with somebody else. But when you're unwilling to forgive, it makes it very hard to really move forward and have real genuine relationships. Even if you have some genuine relationships, if you're unwilling to forgive a person or some persons in your life, chances are those other relationships may not be as good as they can be, because you're not willing to give up this unforgiveness. And so I think that's a place to start for some of us, is to really examine in our lives where we're unforgiving, whether it's ourselves. I know for me, with my mom and her drug addiction, I had to go through a lot of forgiveness work. And when I used to have my conferences, I used to tell people, y'all want me to help y'all lose 50 pounds or 100 pounds instantly? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, listen, let me teach you how to forgive, right? And so one of the ways that I actually teach forgiveness is for you to write a letter. And so you take out a piece of paper and you write, dear such and such. It might be yourself, it might be the person, and then you write down everything that has happened in that relationship to cause you to not forgive, right? Abuse, whatever it may be. And the most important part, though, at the end is that you have to say, but I forgive you.
Mhm.
I forgive you, right? And this letter is not necessarily for you to send anybody, because when they say forgiveness is for you and not the other person, is true, because that person who you are harboring these unforgiveness feelings about, they might be over there doing their thing. Child, they ain't thinking about you. They living their best life somewhere else, and you are still stuck. And so that's why it's for you. I think it can be a beautiful gift for other people if they're willing to receive it, but it doesn't have to be. If you are the one who willing to receive it and want to let go, then it's for you. And that's really rooted in positive psychology. It's like and happiness, the ability to forgive.
I think a lot of people don't understand forgiveness. There's a responsibility on both parties. And the first responsibility you have is for yourself,
Yeah,
because that's the only person that you can control
that's it.
in the whole situation is yourself. And taking responsibility for yourself, your part, or anything in it, releasing yourself
Hmm.
is important. And that gets you to the resolve. And it should get you to the resolve. But I think because, and I'm going to go back to we started at the beginning, because we've been taught to hold on to negativity and negative things, it seems like power when you
Hmm.
hold on to the unforgiveness, because you're withholding something
Yeah.
from that person. And like you said, they living their best life on the yacht, do whatever, don't even remember what they did to you to
Right.
cause you to be, for there needs to be forgiveness.
Right.
Um, but find it to be some level of power, but it's negative power.
Hmm.
There's nothing positive in that power at all.
Right.
And I remember, and Kim Johnson, I think you'd heard this before. I think it was at a retreat that I was, a women's retreat, and the pastor said, "You ain't got no hell, no heaven." So the unforgiveness was your purpose. But I do know forgiveness roots down into your heart and can cause heart issues. And I
Yep.
think sometimes people don't understand that there is a physiological response to unforgiveness.
Right.
I talked about the pain that you hold in your
Yes.
body, but let's just talk about the pain that you hold in your heart. And heart is what you live. So applying positive psychology and seeing the positive, because let me tell you, even in the worst situations, you might be able to find some positive.
Right.
Even if the positive is you got out. Because I know somebody would say, "Was I was in a bad relationship and there's no positive I'm seeing that." Yes, it is, because now you don't learn some warning signs.
Yeah.
You're able to get out. Some triggers for abusers. It are a lot of things that you learn. You just can't see it. You were on the end of the negative piece of,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
but there's something positive that you can take out of it. And let's just even go back to what you talked about with gratitude, the fact that you made it out.
Amen.
Because many
Amen.
don't. Many
Amen.
don't. So,
Yeah.
but I don't think people really understand how being positive, let's just remove psychology. Okay. For some people, because that might be too deep for them. Let's just, because some people just,
Yeah.
so to meet everybody, they are. Let's just move the psychology and really understanding the whole dynamic. Just be positive. Think positive. It shifts your attitude, your mood, and
Mhm.
your being. Period. With
Right.
it's more energy to be negative, to think, and to be stuck in
Right.
negativity. I don't think people
Mhm.
realize how much time it takes to be there in that space.
Yeah.
Um, and if you
Yeah.
think about it, when we focus on the negative, professionally, wherever, we give away our power.
Yeah.
And when you give away power, you're mad because you think somebody took it when you actually just did it like this. Here you go.
Here you
Because
go.
every time you hold on to what's hurting you, that's giving away a piece of you.
Yeah.
And how you get that back is you say you don't have permission. Think
Yep.
about what the positive side of that will look like. See,
Yeah.
as you said, the opposite. What positive side? We're not taught to look at the positive side of things, because there's a flip side. If you flip a coin, there is two sides. Now, unless you got a
Okay.
two-headed coin, there are two sides. Choose
Yep.
which side you want. We go back to the power of choice. I think I'm gonna do a show on the power of choice because I don't even understand
Yeah, I
the
think
power
that's
of
going to be a
choice and
really,
how important it is.
yeah, I think it's going to be a good show.
So positive psychology, it helps with your physical well-being as well. So
Yeah.
let's talk about in relationships. And it doesn't
Ooh.
necessarily have to be in a romantic relationship. Let's talk about it on both things. We're gonna talk about, oh, you know what? This has been such a good conversation. We have 8 minutes.
We
I
is rolling. We talking.
and I'm not saying we get off, but I'm like, I just having a. I mean, this has been really a very, very enriching conversation, and I hope everybody is gleaning and taking something from this. Nuggets have been dropped. Dr. Kiki has talked about the importance of self-forgiveness and what you need to do for that and how you release yourself. Talk about gratitude and how it's important to be grateful when it talks about positive psychology. So there has been some nuggets that has dropped here. So I want to say this to you. If you like the information that you get, please definitely like, subscribe, and share. Hit that little button so you can get the notification when we come on, because I can guarantee you we're going to be bringing powerful speakers here. I'm going to be spilling a lot of tea on things that's going to happen with you being, becoming, and creating your best life. So as we start wrapping up, let's talk about in relationships. And I'll talk about in romantic relationships as well as in friendships, positive psychology and how that looks. So come on.
Yeah, no. Really, I talk about this all the time in terms of positive psychology, and when we link it to happiness, creating and having real relationships is one of the most important. We have a saying in PCADDY: relationships are the most important. Period. Right? Like that's our saying. Because here's the thing: when it comes to like our happiness, we are connected beings and we need to be connected to other people. So whether that's a romantic relationship or a friendship, we have to be connected. But I say real relationships because definitely more so lately during the pandemic, we don't have real connection anymore. You see a lot of people who are committing suicide. There's a lot of, of hurt going on, and people are feeling lonely. And you're like, what? They have all the money in the world. Guess what? But if they ain't got true, real relationship, then it doesn't really matter how much money you really have. And a lot of people can't understand that. But if you've been in that situation, you can understand it. And so when you are really connected to somebody and somebody really understands you and knows you, and it's not just one of those hey bye relationships. I call it hey bye, hey bye, hey bye. Right? Like all we doing is saying, hey, bye. We ain't really checking on nobody. Like for real. How you doing? No, like how you doing? Right? Like we're not really going deeper than just the surface. Hey, bye. And so when you can have a deeper relationship, I mean, for me, my life is fulfilled because I have a husband who loves me and I love him. I have children who love me, who I love them. I have friends like yourself and Gail and just, all our friends who we really do deeply care about each other. And we can pick up the phone like, girl, I done had a terrible day. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that person, we know that person's going to hear us and they really care about us. And they're like, we got to get out of this. Like, let's go to work, right? That kind of thing. We have to have that. And I think that for anybody who's wanting love, you have to open yourself up for that kind of thing, right? Like sometimes we think that love just supposed to drop in our lap and stuff like that. Baby girl, you got to go out there sometimes and get it. Right?
But let me say this. If it did drop in your lap, do you know what to do with it?
Amen.
Because something in brokenness, you can't recognize what's good for you and good to you. And you know what loves look like because you have focused so much on the negativity that has happened in your life, maybe happened in your relationship. And when it shows up at the door or fall in your lap, as you say, you like this, you start sabotaging the relationship.
Absolutely.
Because you did the work in you to get where you needed to. And more importantly, we still focus on those negative experiences and let them dictate how we interact. And the truth of the
Mhm.
matter, let's just say this, romantic relationship, friendships, we have all been hurt by somebody.
Yeah.
It is the choice you make after hurt that will dictate how you work, how you deal in deal in relationships.
I love my pastor, Keith Battle. He will always say, your response is your responsibility, right? Your response, how you respond to anything in life is
Yes.
your responsibility,
Mhm.
right? And it's not your fault. You know, it might not be your fault that it happened, but your how you respond to it is all on you.
All on you. And and,
Yeah.
and, and it's so I think it's another saying here is not what happened is 90% of how you respond to what has happened to
Mhm.
you. And
Mhm.
again, nobody is immune from anything happening to them, but then you got to look at the coin. Side of the coin do you want to be on? Do you want to be on that negative side, or do you want to come over here and apply your positive psychology, draw from your strengths and the things that you have to help you move forward?
Mhm.
Saying get over it overnight, but to
Yeah.
help you put one foot in front of the other and get to the side where you can have the happiness that Dr. Kiki talks about, and you can
Mhm.
have that in your life because we all created to be happy. Let's be very
Yes.
clear. Now
Yes.
there are circumstances that come that interrupt that, but just like circumstance interrupted, a circumstance can come shifted and make it different, and that
Mhm.
circumstance is your thought and how you respond.
Yep.
So you talked about that romantic relationship. Let's talk about in girlfriend friendships
Absolutely.
because that what makes sisterhood so good is what we bring to the table. I
Absolutely.
really hate that saying, but what we bring to one another in the
Right.
relationship. I hate that saying, what you
Right.
bring to the
Right.
table, but what we bring to one another. But I think even in those relationships, sometimes, a lot of times, women get stuck, especially the expectations not met by their girlfriends,
Yeah.
and they too have a hard time understanding their friends. And I always say, know your player. And
Mhm.
sometimes, I think positive psychology plays a big role in this because, again, you're going to have to go and look at the strengths of that person
Mhm.
and what they bring to the table. And
Right.
then you have to kind of evaluate that and see if they could actually give you what you needed at the time that got you on the flip side.
Well, yeah, I mean, friendships are mutual, right?
So
They're
should be, yes.
mutual. They should be mutual. And I mean, I've talked to, a lot of women who have one-sided friendships. And I mean, to be honest with you, I love all my friends, but I know that I need friends who are loving and giving to me, and I want to be loving and giving to them as well. And so I think that when it comes to, just positive psychology, it goes back to having, those real connections, right? Like, and I think that we can grow apart from, some certain girlfriends because maybe we're not at the same place anymore, right? Like we're not and there's nothing necessarily wrong with them. And I think that friends grow apart all the time. I've
Mhm.
had plenty of friends where grown apart of and everything like that, but that don't make us not friends. We just, might not talk every day, those kinds of things. But I think that we definitely need to be in relationship with a core group of people
Mhm.
who love it. When I say group, that could be two, one, right, whatever
Mhm.
that is.
Mhm.
But I think it's
Mhm.
important for us to really be connected on a deeper level. And when you are connected to a friend on a deeper level, even the bad stuff that you need to share, they understand. Even the bad stuff about each other. And be like, girl, listen,
Mhm.
you was wrong. And I can say, you know what, I was. And I'm sorry
Mhm.
because I'm saying, that kind of thing. And I think that when you have a good friend, when you can tell a friend that they was wrong, and they don't question the friendship.
Correct.
They respect what you've told them because they're your friend.
Because they're your friends, right?
Yeah.
And the relationship should work that way. They should be able to
Yes.
have honesty that flows both ways. Because the truth
Absolutely.
of the matter is that's how you grow.
That's how you grow. I got my friends that tell me, Kiki, Girl, y'all will tell me in a minute. Now you know. Now you know you was wrong. And I'm like,
No, it wasn't. Yes, I was.
you know,
Mhm.
so I mean, and that's the thing. And I think that we need more of that, because I do think we need more accountability and to be called up on our stuff. I think if more people in the world were okay getting called on the carpet for their ratchetness, we'd have a better world. But that's a whole another segment for you.
That is definitely a whole nother look, and you jumping over into that current part, because see that yeah, that plays a whole role. Dr. Kiki Ramsey, thank you so much for coming on Tea Talks with Twan. Before we go, I want you to tell people how they can connect with you, where they
Absolutely.
can find all your information about
Yes.
if they're interested in Caddy, if you're
Yeah.
watching, if you have a business, you diversity inclusion, bring PCADDY in, let them empower, equip your leaders to be better leaders so that you can meet the mission of your organization and make a difference in your communities. You're an executive looking for coaching, please see how you can connect with Kiki. Tell us how we can find you.
Absolutely. So you can always find me on kikiramsey.com or pcaddy.com, and that's PPCADI, ppcadi.com. And as Tawana has said, our company, we do executive coaching. And we do diversity coaching, and we love helping leaders be better. Like, we just want to help leaders, and we want to change the face of leadership, y'all, because it is necessary for us to get to where we want to be in this world. The face of leadership is going to have to look like us. It's going to have to include us in it,
Yes.
in order for us to get to where we need to be. And so I would love to connect with you on social media. I'm on, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of those good things at Kiki Ramsey.
And Kimberly Johnson, this was good. I'm glad Gail talking about I love me some Gail Crowder. So we're not even gonna pay her attention. But Kiki, I
Thank
thank
you,
you.
girl.
I thank you. I want to ask everybody, see me back next Monday. This is Love Month. So I'm going to be talking about self-love, the importance of self-love. And because self-love plays an important role of your being, and creating the life that you want for yourself. So you definitely, and this is a topic almost like diversity and inclusion. People don't talk about it a lot. They know it's important, but they don't talk about it, and they don't understand the connection. So definitely join us back next week. And week after next, I'm going to have Nurse Delana Watkins with us, and she's definitely going to be talking about heart healthy and what we need to be healthy. So Dr. Kiki Ramsey, thank you for being with me. Y'all probably will see her on here again because I like bringing my friends on because we can have some fun and things.
Yes.
Thank you for joining me again. I just want to remind you that we are the place where we spill the tea on all the personal development topics that can help you with your becoming and creating the life you want. If you like what you've heard thus far of some of the other episodes, I ask you to like, subscribe, and hit that little button so you can get notification the next time we go on. Remember, everybody needs a little TLC. I'm talking about that transformational lifestyle content that helps you with becoming your best self and creating your life. Until next week, remember to be good to yourself.